Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you with the most up-to-date political, economic, and geostrategic analysis on the world's #2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in. First up, we have a deeply disturbing development to cover. Yesterday, Tuesday, a Chinese Navy helicopter flew within 10 feet, 3 meters, of a Philippine patrol plane in a disputed area of the South China Sea, prompting the Filipino pilot to warn by radio, quote, "You are flying too close, you are very dangerous," end quote. There were foreign journalists on board the plane, including one from the Associated Press. Indeed, the AP reports that the journalist and others invited on the plane, quote, witnessed the tense 30-minute standoff as the Philippine plane pressed on with its low-altitude patrol around Scarborough Shoal, with the Chinese Navy helicopter hovering close above it or flying to its left in cloudy weather. End quote. The area is claimed by both the Chinese and the Philippines. Beijing has rejected the International Arbitration Award, giving the area to the Philippines. This is, of course, incredibly dangerous. The Philippines is a US military ally with whom exists a mutual defense treaty. There are no robust guardrails in the Philippine-China relationship remaining either. As such, a collision risks a serious series of escalations which could result in military conflict, either within the economically critical region or to a larger scale. Meanwhile, Beijing has signaled a tougher stance should the Philippines proceed with another high-profile arbitration case. According to Wu Shicun, founder of the National Institute for South China Sea Studies, China is now equipped with, quote, more diverse tools, end quote, and will not remain passive if Manila takes legal action. The Philippines is considering another challenge against Beijing, potentially suing over alleged ecological damage caused by China's extraction of giant clams and destruction of coral reefs within Manila's exclusive economic zone. All suggest that Beijing could respond forcefully, including setting a deadline for the removal of the Sierra Madre, a Philippine naval vessel stationed at the Second Thomas Shoal. If Manila fails to act, Beijing could take unilateral action to tow the ship away. Of course, as regular viewers know, the issue with this is that the United States has signaled that such a move could trigger its obligations under its mutual defense treaty. The warning comes amid heightened maritime confrontations, with Chinese and Philippine vessels clashing over control of disputed features such as the Second Thomas Shoal and Sabina Shoal. And of course, this close military encounter from yesterday. At the recent Munich Security Conference, former Chinese Vice Foreign Minister Fu Ying emphasized that China considers these territories a red line and will not tolerate continued Philippine, quote, occupation, end quote. Though, of course, the thing with disputed territory is that it goes both ways. As diplomatic strains deepen, Manila faces a complex decision: push forward with legal proceedings at the risk of further escalation or seek alternative solutions to address its maritime concerns. With both sides reinforcing their claims, the South China Sea remains a flashpoint for regional tensions with global, potentially catastrophic implications. Next up, China's Supreme Prosecutory Body has pledged to enhance legal protections for private businesses, vowing to crack down on unlawful investigations and profit-driven law enforcement practices. This commitment was emphasized during a press conference on Tuesday, following General Secretary Xi Jinping's recent meeting with high-profile entrepreneurs to reassure the business community amid economic challenges. We covered this in yesterday's video. Regular viewers will know that we have been following this alarming trend for some time, with police across China, particularly in poorer regions, crossing provincial lines to extract large fines from businesses, exacerbating an already fragile economic environment, with local governments struggling under mounting debt and declining tax revenues. Law enforcement agencies have resorted to what many companies describe as extortion. One striking example occurred in April of last year, when officers from Guangdong province traveled 600 miles north to Wuhan, provincial capital of Hubei, detaining 25 employees of a social media company and coercing its finance team into transferring $41 million. The company was forced to shut down due to financial losses. This practice, dubbed profit-driven law enforcement by Beijing, has become widespread as local governments face falling land sales and declining tax revenue. Businesses have been targeted for exaggerated or fabricated offences, forcing them to pay back taxes and fines stretching back decades. And this is not just some story of Western analysts. Beijing, at its highest levels, including with the State Council, has had emergency meetings discussing this issue in the country. A liquor company recently disclosed a sudden demand for $12 million in back taxes dating back to 1994, while a chemical engineering firm faced a $69 million penalty. In both cases, the fines would, in effect, wipe out the company. On Tuesday, WWIII, head of economic crime prosecution, outlined measures to correct unlawful actions such as arbitrary case filings, unjustified economic dispute involvement, cross-regional arrests, and the illegal seizure of assets, showing just how widespread this issue has become. Prosecutors will also leverage modern technology, they said, and strengthen cross-regional coordination to expedite the resolution of lingering cases affecting businesses. Deputy Prosecutor General Ge Xiaoyan reported that in 2024 alone, prosecutors reviewed over 2,900 criminal cases involving private companies and cleared over 2,390 of them. However, despite these now renewed government directives to curb these exploitative practices, businesses remain skeptical. The ongoing pressure on small firms underscores China's deeper economic struggles, with law enforcement playing a troubling role in revenue collection. The fact that the highest levels of the leadership are now pushing for this crackdown suggests that this has become a serious and widespread issue across the country, threatening not just these businesses, but the wider health of an already crisis-hit economy. Next up, we have one more development to cover, but just quickly, if you're getting some value from today's episode of China Update, don't forget to hit the like button, and if you have not done so already and you would like to see more episodes like this in the future, maybe consider subscribing. Next up, the release of DeepSeek's latest artificial intelligence model in December of 2024 has not only marked a technological milestone, but has also reignited concerns about censorship and ideological control within China's AI landscape. As recent analyses by the China Media Project reveal, DeepSeek embeds strict adherence to the Chinese Communist Party CCP's political guidance. This raises significant questions about the broader implications of China's AI development for both domestic users and the global community. When DeepSeek's new model was introduced, it was tested using standard elevation benchmarks, measuring reasoning ability, coding proficiency, and linguistic comprehension. However, what stood out, according to the China Media Project report, was a distinct focus on political loyalty. One example of this scrutiny was a question concerning Taiwan's status, borrowing directly from a decade-old civil service exam in Hebei province. Such tests ensure that AI models align with the party's preferred narratives, reinforcing politically acceptable viewpoints while limiting dissenting perspectives. This approach is not unique to DeepSeek. Other major Chinese AI models, including Alibaba's Q1, have been subjected to similar testing frameworks that emphasize ideological consistency. Unlike Western AI models such as Meta's Llama family, which focus on general knowledge and logic, Chinese AI models must pass rigorous government-influenced assessments before their public deployment. Despite claims of uncensored capabilities, DeepSeek R1, the open-source variant, still exhibits strong biases in favor of party narratives. The China Media Project notes that the model adapts its responses based on language and location, behaving differently when queried in English versus Chinese. When responding in English, it references Western sources and acknowledges criticisms of the Chinese government. However, in Chinese, it strictly adheres to state-approved messaging, demonstrating a deliberate effort to manage perspective based on audience demographics. The selected presentation of information is an evolution of China's broader media strategy, which does not simply rely on outright censorship, but instead emphasizes, quote, guiding public opinion, end quote. The implications are profound. Rather than blocking access to information outright, AI models like DeepSeek subtly shape discourse, reinforcing government-approved viewpoints while presenting them as objective facts. While concerns over AI-driven propaganda are growing, DeepSeek's emergence also signals a potential shift in global AI dynamics. Analysts suggest that its success could bolster China's soft power, particularly in the global south. With lower resource barriers for AI deployment than previously assumed, DeepSeek's open-source nature could enable developing nations to harness AI technology on their own terms. Stephen Minas, a professor at Peking University's School of Transnational Law, recently highlighted how DeepSeek's accessibility presents an opportunity for countries outside the Western AI ecosystem. If these nations leverage China's AI achievements, they could gain greater technological independence. Of course, Beijing will also likely see this as an opportunity to push its own power projection, soft and otherwise, in these regions. And of course, this raises the question of whether they will inherit the same built-in ideological constraints. The case of DeepSeek underscores the growing intersection between artificial intelligence, political ideology, and global influence. As China continues to refine its AI models, and of course this is being heavily subsidized and pushed by the state, it is clear that these technologies are not just tools for innovation, but also instruments of narrative control. For policymakers, developers, and users worldwide, the challenge ahead lies in navigating the deliberate balance between leveraging AI for progress and ensuring that it does not become a vehicle for unchecked political manipulation. Now, while we are on DeepSeek and Chinese AI, let's look at one more angle of all this. Goldman Sachs, the US bank, has projected that artificial intelligence will provide a moderate boost to China's economy in the coming years, largely due to the rise of domestic generative AI tools, such as those developed by Hangzhou-based startup DeepSeek. However, the Global Investment Bank cautioned that AI's impact on industry would be limited, while the country's job market could face increased turbulence. In a research note released on Sunday, Goldman Sachs stated that AI would, quote, start raising potential growth, end quote, in China as early as next year, contributing 0.2 to 0.3 percentage points to the country's economic expansion by 2030. An upward revision from earlier estimates. The firm attributed the shift to faster than expected AI development. Quote, the recent emergence of DeepSeek as a credible global competitor to US-based AI leaders suggests faster AI development and adoption in China than we previously anticipated. End quote, the note explained. As AI adoption grows, China's economy could benefit from increased task automation, labor cost savings, and productivity improvements. AI-related spending is also expected to rise sharply through 2027, in full adoption projected within 15 years. However, Goldman Sachs warned that China's industry mix could limit AI's economic uplift. Quote, the pace of labor replacement by technology needs to be managed carefully, end quote, the firm stated, citing risks from a struggling job market and ongoing economic challenges. Okay, that is today's episode of China Update. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Have a good Wednesday, and I will see you all tomorrow.